Or so it's not like this has to be orchestrated.
Nope. Hey, can I borrow you for a minute? Just come on over here, and there's RideTech's Facebook page. Put these headphones on when you see live come up, and just we're going, and just let me know if you see us on that page and you can hear us. It's live.
Yeah.
Are we live yet?
You could type. Yeah, just make it so it doesn't rattle. We'll lower the car down to height when we set it up.
All right, connected. Yeah, it sure looks like we're supposed to be live. We got 9 people watching. Yeah, refresh the page.
Well, if we're live, we're working on the car.
All right. Yep.
We are live.
What's happening, Chris?
Well,
what are we doing today?
Starting to assemble the Track 1 Camaro. Texas is next week, so we need to go racing.
So we have to make an entire car before race weekend, Good Guys, Fort Worth.
Yeah, well, most of it's been fitted together, so it's just an assembly process at this point.
All right.
Getting ready to put the subframe in. The guys are finishing up the rear. Move the jack stands back to the rear end after you get the shocks on, guys.
So that's Curry Enterprises, turn 9, rear end.
Yep, with a
Miller built floater assembly, C7 floater assembly. And we have an aluminum center section?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got a wave track posi unit, posh gear set.
Why do you like to run a wave track?
It's a gear style,
okay.
So it releases on entry. Good posi unit, doesn't hang up the one tire. So far they've worked out. We ran one all year last year in the 40-hour Camaro, so we're going to try to run one this year in the Track 1 car. And
I see electrical cables hanging down from the shock absorbers. Tell us about those quick. Yeah, of course, the Track 1 car is going to have the Instinct shocks on it. So we have our fully active shock suspension on this car. The orange 48-hour car has the standard triples on it, but we do have the electronics on this car. You can see we have data going on the car. The race pack units are all going in. We'll make the brackets for the rear shock travel sensors after we get the car up on the lift and do the exhaust. So I see we have a stock subframe. A lot of people think they need an aftermarket subframe to go fast. And we work pretty hard to develop parts to help people keep and use their stock subframe. Well, the bottom line is it doesn't matter whose subframe you use. I mean, there's one or two maybe out there you can run the 315 on without modifying the fenders, but you still can't run inner fender wells and everything else. So if you're trying to run the 315 tire, you're going to have to make some sacrifices and make some body changes to make that happen. So there's no real need to switch the subframes out, especially on a second-gen platform. The second-gen platform's front steer, the geometry was pretty good to start with. We went through, reworked the geometry, changed the roll centers. It's pretty impressive. I'm happy with everything turned out. We've went through a great extent to narrow the lower arm up so we don't have tire clearance issues. You see here with the camera, there's no limitations on turning radius. There's no limitation on the control arm. Yeah, we have full turning radius capability. I don't know what stock is. We may be a little further than that. This thing's got a really good steering radius. Not quite a drift car. Yeah, no, not quite a drift car. But you can see the Track 1 spindles. We've changed the Ackerman on it. And even on the standard kit, we've went to a standard spindle, our standard spindle, so that we can adjust the Ackerman and do some things with the car. The second-gen spindles were notorious for burning up bearings, and so the availability of the parts is bad, so we've chose to run our own spindle in both kits. We've done the true turn package on it, just like the first-gen cars. So, you know, we've went through, maximized all the suspension geometry, and we also did all the steering geometry. So that's all been improved and fixed. So the deal is, things have changed. We now have the ability to run a wide tire because of these modifications, and we also have incredibly sticky tires now. Yeah. And likewise, we have electronic shocks to use those sticky tires to the point where we're now loading all these suspension parts much more than we ever have as hot rodders.
Oh, sure. You know, that's why the race car, you know, stuff pushes the street cars so hard, because, you know, we come out here, we beat this stuff on the track, and that sets it up for the street cars.
So
you want to grab the right lug nuts for this, Tony.
Our tubular control arms are revised geometry. They're also stronger than stock, and they're also set up a little bit differently for track 1 than they are with our strong arms, our street strong arms, but they're essentially the same thing, right?
Correct.
So the Howe ball joints?
Basically, the geometry pickup points on the A-arms from the factory or level 2 kit to the track 1 kit are very similar. I'm going to zip some nuts on here real quick.
So what'll happen is sometimes people will approach us and say, hey, you know, I want to run your stuff, but I'm not going racing. You know, I see you guys make parts for race cars. We're really only making parts to race hot rods, and we're racing hot rods to make it so that the parts that we put on your street car are better. So likewise, we have a RideTech spindle. You don't need to run this crazy billet spindle that gives you all the added strength and modular features. You don't need to run the Howe ball joint. But if you want it, we have it for you. And likewise, we take all the development work that comes from our racing program and apply it right back into the parts that go on our standard streetcar parts.
So to answer the question, what's the difference in the arms? The arm difference is Howe ball joints. The shock location on the race arm is moved because we move the shock closer to the ball joint, so we don't have to run such big spring rates.
Okay, so softens up the motion ratio.
Right.
Makes it a little easier to...
Makes the wheel rate the same and running a smaller spring.
Cool.
So that's where that's at. You know, the ability to run the track 1 spindle is a nice option even for the street car guy because it gives you the ability to run a bearing pack.
Yep.
You know, a lot of people, you know, like a bearing pack better than a conventional bearing because they don't want to pack wheel bearings.
And there's some people who just want best of the best. You know,
right,
money
sure.
is no object. Even if they won't go 170 miles an hour.
Right. So we have lots of options.
Yeah.
It'll you can pick your poison, so to speak. You know, the one other option we have going on in all the kits right now too is we have chicane mounts for the upper shocks for I think most all of the applications now. The Corvette, both Camaros.
Yep.
I don't know if we have the Chevelle done yet or not, but we do have the chicane mount. So you can run the conventional coilover.
All right. So tell us a little bit about the brakes, because those are pretty hardcore also.
These are the 14-inch 6-piston Willwood Aero race package. So this is kind of the upper end package from Willwood. Got the hard anodized finish on the caliper. We've got the thermal coated pistons. We got the knockback springs. We got the full floating hardware. It's not tight, so you can't really see. But if you zoom in here, we have full floating hardware on the rotors. So the heat and expansion, everything on them warms up. They tighten up, and we don't get that brake knockback issues, and we don't rattle the pistons.
And in terms of just applying that to a typical autocross run, what do these brakes do? Do they get the car slowed down in a shorter period of time?
Well, sure, because we have so much contact surface area on the brake pad in this kit. I mean, look at the size of the pad in it. You know, we've got a really big pad. We've got 6 pistons of clamping force. We got 14 inches of rotor. You know, it's pretty much, well, the badass package of brakes.
Yeah, so you don't have to brake early.
No, I drive in deep. The deeper I can drive in, the faster I can go. The faster I can go, the less time it takes.
Right. I mean, if you could, you'd have your foot on the gas the whole time and the steering wheel straight the whole time, but that's just not going to happen.
That's called drag racing. We don't do that. Well, some people do that. We don't do that.
We do it sometimes.
No, we like to we like to go autocrossing and road racing.
All right. So we'll spend a little time talking about the brakes later with Willwood. We have Michael here from Willwood. So
Mike Hamrick from Willwood is here.
We'll dig into those a little bit more later. We're going to put the wheel on now because we're literally going to use these giant 315 wide tires to roll this subframe over to the body and bolt everything up. So very soon
keep watching. We're going to make this look like a car. And then we're not going to stop. We're going to do more Facebook Lives throughout the week as we put the engine in the car, as we put the engine and the Bowler 6-speed transmission together with quarter-master clutch in between. Smitty is very particular about what clutch he likes to use, both with respect to his launches as well as at the other end of the straight when like those brakes, he needs to actually clamp down on those brakes and get the car slowing down with engine braking as quickly as possible. And then you'll also see, watch out for this light over here. We're about done with the new 2nd Gen 4-link. Michael, if you could show everyone that awesome cradle, which looks really good against the Ford Stealth Gray paint. What you're looking at is a truly unique 4-link design. We have a funny name for it, called the Unicradle.
So it just rolls.
But there's nothing baby about it. What we have is a design that uses a subframe layout. So there's 2 frame rails that work inside of the factory frame rails, inside and outside, that hold the axle and the lower links located. And then we have an inside cradle that secures to the rear bulkhead, both the transmission tunnel and the rear firewall, so that we can locate the forward upper link mounting points. As you can see, there are rubber boots that do the work of sealing the upper links and keep the noise out and keep the heat out. So let's go watch these guys move that subframe into place. Who's driving?
It's not in the way.
We moving this engine out of the way?
No, we're going this way.
Oh, we're going that way.
Where's the body bushings and stuff? We gotta wait for them guys to get the rear end onto the right jack stand location.
Cool. So we're almost done with the rear axle installation. In the meantime, we're driving the front subframe over. Beep, beep. Man, you guys have done this before. All right.
I can move that jack stand out if we have to.
So this is pretty much...
Watch this. Oh, they
Caddy corner is all it needs to do.
they moved things.
Chris, you like this better than working in a parking lot at Barrett Jackson?
It's a little easier to work when you got all your tools.
A little bit easier, yeah. Of course, we didn't have to install a subframe out at Barrett Jackson, but there's nothing like working at your own shop with your own tools, your own people, climate control.
Not raining. Just start to make sure we get anti-seize on them before we're done. Make sure we get anti-seize on the stainless bolts.
If you're going to work outside of a shop, you can do worse than Barrett Jackson. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, we are raising up. We're starting with the back bolts. We'll put them in real loose. That'll help keep everything located, and then.
Michael's got the camera under there. You can notice we actually got Detroit Speed subframe connectors in it, Detroit Speed mini tubs, and Detroit Speed body bushings going in the car right now.
Yeah, there's quite a few Detroit Speed parts going on in the car. including the seat brackets, the windshield wiper motor. That can be the choice speed also. Yep. That subframe looks good.
You know, the key to using a stock subframe is welding it up. So the entire subframe's been welded. All the seams have been welded. We ground them and made it a little more pretty so it'd be easier to clean. But
is that something you have to do if you're building a cruiser?
If you're building a cruiser, you don't need to. It's helpful though, because if you look at a lot of these subframes back in the day, that was the beginning of some automated welding that was pretty sketchy. And there's spots where they're not welded for 6, 8, 10, 12 inches. So
yeah,
if you know how to weld and you got your subframe out, you know, a few hours with a welder and grind it down a little bit will make for a much better project. Just make sure that you got it square and you're not welding it.
Yeah, so
loaded.
Smitty's Custom Auto has taken that premise to the limit. So this subframe's welded end to end and also filled and smoothed. And then is this painted or powder coated?
Powder coated.
Powder coated.
Just welding and finishing on the powder coated.
Yeah. So it's not even filled. You just finish grounded, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, nice work. Really nice work.
The whole subframe was metal finished.
Yeah, really nice work.
No. You want me to go up?
No, opposite idea.
Huh?
The body needs to go higher. But not a whole lot.
Hey, Chris. Chris.
Yeah.
I just need to get my side in, so.
Pick it up. You want to go up then?
So one thing that's not stock on this subframe, and Michael, if you want, you can come in with the camera, are the mounts for the bolt-on forward down bars of the Tiger Cage. That's one of the few non-production parts you'll find on this car. Prototype stuff.
What's that?
The Tiger Cage down bars. So what we've done is we've built custom bars out of stainless that can be mounted to the frame itself as well as the firewall as a bulkhead, and then there's bars that bolt to the back of the firewall as well that tie into the A-pillar bars of the roll cage. That way the whole chassis is tied together. The fact that they're stainless steel means they'll look pretty good too. And Tiger Cage, if you don't know, is a really slick design where everything bolts together. You want to go look at that, Michael? So real quick, we have all of the Tiger Cage bars over here, including the main hoop and the down bars. There's one you can see over there.
We're going to go ahead and put it on
forward.
Tighten them, snug them up, and we're going to sit back on the ground and get it moved because we don't have enough room to get the motor in.
Side bars, or the sill bars, depending on what you want to call them. And then the A-pillar bars, which are right in front of us over here, bolt in place.
What's that?
So a really cool
we
design.
Can't get to there.
Great way to add some structural rigidity to the car, a measure of safety with a design that looks like show quality and is easy to install. Michael can head over to the inside of the cockpit and we'll show you how they bolt up.
We can. We can slide them on.
Okay. So if you look right over there, you can see a mount for the Tiger Cage. And Brett Vocal has a really good design aesthetic. You can see he put a T right into the design for Tiger Cage. So pretty cool how everything bolts in place. And of course, the theme carries through the car. The Tiger Cage mount matches the Unicradle. You know everything's Ride Tech. So we're there. We have subframe bolts in place Front tires are in place. Rear tires are going on. The rear tires are BF Goodrich Rival S 335s, made to work with the Detroit Speed Mini Tubs and the Ride Tech 4Link. Front tires are 315 Rival S. And the wheels, of course, are Forge Line GA3s. GA3 or GA3R, Chris?
3Rs.
GA3R.
They just have the bolt. They have the bolt-on cap.
Right.
Rubber mallet, they're not square.
And what size are the rear calipers? The rear rotors?
14-inch.
So 14-inch rotors all the way around.
Did you get yours on?
Yeah. Which one's out of whack? You want a wheel? Can you figure out which one's out? Wow, that moved easy.
Mike from Willwood says it's hammer time.
Did you send one to?
Can you, do you know what we're going to be doing next, like for the next live stream?
Engine.
Engine?
It'll be
They can hear us. So next up,
we'll be putting the engine and transmission in later this afternoon. We got to set up the throw-out bearing, install bell housing, check our shim and spacing on all that, make sure it's correct, and then we'll drop the motor in later this afternoon.
all right. Is it coming down off jack stands? Or you can do all
Yeah,
the work?
we're too close to the door, so we need to move the car back so we can get the motor in. So
Okay.
we'll get the down bars in, start working on getting the pedals in, and get some of the parts on the front end and get everything ready to go, and we'll get the motor and transmission dropped in here later this afternoon, and we'll be doing a whole bunch of wiring soon.
It's amazing how different it looks just putting that front subframe on and the wheels and tires on. Folks, if you're out there watching, please go ahead and share this live stream to your pages right now so that your friends can watch it too.
Where'd you put the other one?
See how many people we can get watching a car go together live. Just hit that share button, you'll be good to go. Yeah, let's keep watching. For those of you who are savvy, you'll notice that we put the rear wheels on without the calipers. It's okay. We'll get back to it. We will put the calipers on at a later date, at a later point in time, and plumb the rear brakes, of course. For now, we just put the wheels on so we can move the car around. Gravity, that's a lot of gravity, dude. There is a Quartermaster 8.5 Extreme V clutch going on this car. It's a triple disc, right, Chris?
No, twin.
Twin disc, all right.
Twin disc. Since we have more diameter, we don't need the third disc. It's got his more surface area for clamping force is greater.
Okay.
I believe it's rated to 1,100 foot-pounds or 800 foot-pounds on this one. I'm sorry.
And you ran something different on the Vet, right?
Yeah, we ran the 7 1/4 triple on the Corvette.
Why such a small clutch?
We use the clutch rotating weight as engine braking.
Okay.
The lighter the rotating assembly is in the engine, the harder the car brakes under engine deacceleration.
All right. So you're using the diameter of the clutch to tune the amount of engine braking you have going into a corner.
Correct. And on the straight axle cars, we got to be careful of that because we'll actually get too much rear brake and too much deceleration in the back of the car. We'll let these guys get done making noise for a minute and I'll finish explaining it.
All right.
So basically, you go to corner entry, the car nose the front end down, the back end with pickup. So you're making the back end of the tires lighter. We're wanting to deaccelerate the car as fast as we can.
Without unloading the rear tires.
Right, without locking them up.
Right.
So it's kind of a fine line there. You know, on the yellow Corvette situation, we had some problems there where we were trying to get so much rear brake in it to get it stopped that we actually got to the point we were running a front caliper on the rear. So we ended up with the same front and rear caliper on that car running about a 50-50 split because that car's actually heavier on the rear than the front. So it's all about getting the combination of weight, brake bias, and all that stuff dialed just right in perfectly so that your corner entry is correct.
And did the use of electronic shocks change your thinking on the way you were setting up cars?
Not as far as brake bias and all that goes, no.
Okay.
The electronic shocks, what they do is they come in and they just improve everything. With the triples, you know, you're tuning for a general feel and you're trying to get the best part of the course down and tune that way, which is great. With the electronics, they automatically tune themselves so we get every corner.
So they're self-adjusting?
Yes. Basically. You know, on triples, you're trying to find a handful of corners where we need to, our biggest losses. So we want to pick up our biggest gains there and drive around the rest of the car. With these, the shocks pretty much have been thrown out the window because you don't think about them anymore because they do what they're supposed to. And we go on to fine-tuning sway bars and fine-tuning the brakes and fine-tuning little things.
So it's like having a little guy in the car who runs around tuning your shocks in real time.
Yeah.
It's like a trunk monkey.
Yeah, kind of.
What else are we running?
Tony's laughing about something over there.
Oh.
You know, one thing people don't pay a whole lot of attention to is actually drive shafts. You know, they have critical speeds according to how long they are, the diameter they are. You know, Dynatech figures that all out for us. You know, I believe the critical speed on this shaft is 9,600 RPMs.
Wow. And what's our red line?
Somewhere a little less than that.
So we're safe.
Yeah, we're safe. But they have to calculate load because the drive shaft actually bows. They don't run straight. Once you put the power to them, they arc up. So you have to watch drive line angles, make sure you have a good drive shaft because when they come apart, it's pretty ugly. I've only had one come apart over the years, and we did it about 2 years ago, and it was a little exciting.
Yeah, it's a bad scene. You don't want to get shafted.
And that's another one of them things. If you look under this, we've got a Summit drive shaft loop in the front of this car, which is a very cheap part for the safety amount. You know, inexpensive. They're $39, $40.
Yep.
They pulled in a nice safety feature for any car on the road should have a drive shaft loop.
Looking good. What do you think is going to be the hardest part of this thrash, this 7-day wonder?
Wiring.
Wiring?
What's that?
Filming TV stuff.
Filming TV stuff? Yeah. So we have some sophisticated wiring going in the car, race pack smart wire system.
Yeah, we're running the race pack smart wire, and then we run the Holley Dominator ECU for the EFI.
And we mounted the two of them on the dash, under the dash, right next to each other, so that they're easy to service. We have a removable dash.
Yes.
Which is what, fiberglass or carbon fiber?
It's fiberglass.
Fiberglass.
One of the big keys to this car here, it was built to be assembled and disassembled so that we can service the parts and get to everything.
Yeah.
You know, technology is changing so fast. Everything is going to CAN. So all of our controls, all of our inputs, outputs are all CAN-based, which is much faster.
Yep.
So everything's
more
running,
reliable.
Everything's running through computers. So, you know, we'll have, before it's all said and done, I think this car will have 6 or 7 ECUs in it.
You guys all hold it up, ready to move?
So it's pretty wild that we're taking hot rods, fully street legal, and racing them, and the cars are completely different than their competitors. You'll watch an SCCA event, and they've gone ahead and really classed everything to where the cars are as equal as possible. Good Guys Autocross. You come to one of those events, and the cars are like seriously different from each other. You'll see something that looks like a full-on race car with headlights run against something that looks like grandma's street car, and somehow through the development of all these parts, these cars are running within hundredths, sometimes thousandths of a second of each other, and you have this competitive environment that truly is racing. It's racing just by the fact that the cars are running so close to each other. But at the end of the day, we're still running hot rods, and we're still building cars that look good, cars that we want to build. Any one of us could run out and go buy a Miata and go autocrossing that and be competitive, but we choose to build a car like this second gen because it spins our wheels. We want these fat 335, 315 tires, even though we could just run a much smaller car and accomplish the same speeds on course. We want to pick our color carefully, like this Ford Stealth Gray deal here. But at the end of the day, it's just a hot rod. All right. Looking forward to seeing this thing on the ground. Obviously, there's no weight in the car. Slow. We are not a NASCAR team.
Not to drop the cars.
No. Okay. Chris, where'd the paint come from?
We spray PPG Global.
So all the cars come through here get painted with PPG?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Do we want to put it up? Do we want to put it up higher in the air? Because I got them really tall jack stands in the trailer.
You're going to paint your tail lights black around the edge so not going chrome thing on the outside of the car.
We can do that minor detail anytime.
I kind of like it. But
I don't mind either. But
yeah.
There's nothing else chrome.
Yeah.
So you want to straight back up, all right?
Yeah, but do we want to go up the? I've got the real tall jack stands in the trailer. All right.
That looks amazing. The black wheels look great with the Stealth Gray. All right, kids, you want us to keep going? We rolled the car back so that we just got a little bit more room to work up front because later on today we're going to go ahead and put the engine and transmission in the car, but we're not going to do that until we mate them. So that means we got to set the clutch up, and then bolt the Bowler transmission to the SDPC Race Shop LS7. As you can see on the front of this LS7, getting back to this being a hot rod that races, not a pure race car, we have Vintage Air's front runner set up, working in unison with a, what brand pump is that? Is that a Daily, Chris?
Yeah.
With a Daily dry sump pump. And they work together just fine. We're able to fit the dry sump cog belt drive behind the damper, and then have a serpentine system running the Vintage Air front runner setup. Is this one of the new Vintage Air bridges?
Yes. So Vintage Air, being the company they are, we reached out to them, and everybody's wanting to run the MSD Atomic Air Force intake in the 102 millimeter throttle body, but the problem was we didn't have room to the bridge. And we hit the water pump. So on the 40-hour Corvette, we cut the water pump apart, welded it all back together.
Wow.
Put a space. We had to run we couldn't run the 102 on it because it didn't fit, but we still had to modify the water pump. So they've built a new bridge and switched to an Edelbrock pump, which gives us all the clearance right here.
And we used the same bridge and pump setup on the 48-hour Camaro in January when we put that together.
Yes.
I think that's the first time I saw that setup.
These are the first two they built.
Oh, so we're literally looking at prototype parts used to fill a need in our racing program that will be available to the public.
They're actually the first two production parts.
Oh, there you go. And then where'd the throttle body come from?
Nick Williams.
Nick Williams out of North Carolina?
Skog and Dickey provided it with the motor.
So the motor was built by Skog and Dickey Parts Center's race shop division that will build custom race engines to any specification. SDPC Race Shop started with Chevrolet Performance Block, is that right?
No, that is in LSR race block.
LSR race block, and all forged internals.
That's what they label all of them as. Yeah.
Tell me about the heads.
Yeah, I believe Brodix makes the casting. They're the race shop head. They're the 6-bolt head. They've got the extra head bolt in them, which matches the extra head bolt in the block.
Yeah, so Brodix, one of the best known names in aluminum cylinder head manufacturing, race head manufacturing, builds a head special for SDPC Race Shop, and CNC ported.
Yes, the ports are huge. They're port matched to that intake, and everybody knows how big the ports are on them intakes.
Yeah. So that MSD Atomic Air Force intake manifold has ports that you can just about get lost in,
yeah,
and
the
heads are port matched to work with the intake manifold. So we're getting there. It looks like a car.
Set up the transmission in the bell housing or do the gas tank, either one. You want to do that, I'll do this.
Also, this afternoon we're going to
grab me a hammer and a
watch
and a
Mike
punch.
here.
You can help me, we'll switch this all out.
Brakes installed.
You can probably go back to
the master cylinders. You're doing them first?
And the miscellaneous stuff for right now.
I don't know if you can hear me, but we're going to get the firewall mount, master cylinders in before they start doing the engine.
All right.
So get all that pre-stuff done. They may even look at doing some of the brake lines.
Cool.
Before the engine goes in, and then we can start working on the inside of it.
All right. Awesome.
So I'm going to start doing that.
Doing it now? We can watch?
Yeah.
You're okay with that?
Grab me a straight punch too. This might work actually. Timber.
We have pretty much taken over Smitty's Custom Automotive here. Ordinarily, this room over here is used for final assembly. So if you look, it's big enough to
how the fuck does that work?
fit a car, and that's usually what happens here.
Oh, I know.
I guess you just put it in there. put it together, they just slowly start that bolt, I guess.
Yeah, that bolt is, this is machined. It only goes in at one spot.
Well, that's going to point this way.
Pretty good looking piece.
I believe it goes.
So yeah, over here we have all the parts stage that are going to go on the car. Ordinarily, there's actually a car in here that is in the final stages of assembly, and of course you can see that you can fit 2 cars in here. So that 5.7
that doesn't work.
Looking pretty sharp.
Yep.
And then there is a whole other room back there for final assembly. And the fun thing is they are actually building a new state-of-the-art shop. We can go this way while they're doing some work. And no, Smitty doesn't want us going over there. All right. I think they're out there working, making a lot of noise, so we can't go look at that today. We have vintage air conditioning. Obviously,
That should be
air conditioning has weight to it, so you would think that if you are
And yeah, you have
building
to,
a dedicated race car,
you got to bolt this together, put the bolt in, or you got to sit there and wrench it.
you wouldn't put air conditioning in it, but that's not what we do. We drive these cars on the street. Sometimes we drive them across the country. So we are absolutely putting air conditioning in this hot rod. How's it going, Mike?
Good.
That triple mount is a standard part anybody can buy?
Everything, literally everything that we're putting on this car is off the shelf.
So the master, the clutch assembly,
Yep.
and then
Pedal
you
assembly.
and then you have different types of pedals. Which one did Smitty choose? What setup?
We went with the hanging forward mount,
Okay.
and in a previous video you guys did, it explained the ergonomics and why that's so important with, the driver comfort.
That was a fun video. We were up pretty late making that video.
Yeah, and it was good information.
Oh, thanks.
Doing like the floor mount, a lot of guys are going to that because of the feel.
Uh-huh.
But the problem in this car, there's just not enough floorboard.
Right.
When it's a fabricated race car on a chassis, that's a different thing. But a hanging pedal is a good way of going with this application. This unit is something that we came up with about 4 years ago building a car at Willwood, where we realized that we needed to move the master cylinders further back. But on top of that, it was a nice way of making the firewall stiffer and having a place that's already prefabricated for you to mount your triple master or pedal assembly with masters. So we've been utilizing this a lot, and especially in a car like this where we're trying to take all the compliance out of it.
Yep, it's really slick. So when you go push on these pedals, you don't have to worry about moving the firewall around because you've actually strengthened it.
Well, the big thing about a pedal assembly is you've got to make sure that you're mounted at 90 degrees. So we need to have this front, but we also need on the back side for it to be like 90 degrees.
Perfect, perpendicular to the ground. Yep.
So something that's very important when you're building cars and you're going to a pedal assembly aftermarket.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, floor-mounted pedals, they take some getting used to.
Oh yeah, they do. It's a
so
totally
you need to be
different
prepared
part
for
of your
that.
foot.
Yep.
So yeah, going to start getting this stuff done so that they can get going on the engine.
All right, cool. Thanks, Mike. So the PPG Stealth Gray paint. Goes with the satin and gloss black Forgeline GA3 wheels nicely. It kind of sends a message to the other cars racing at Good Guys that that we come prepared for battle, and that we're not afraid to fly under the radar and be subtle. But sometimes we like to stand out. So there's a surprise coming that is in stark contrast to these black wheels that I think you're going to see very soon.
I think they're being rolled in, and I kind of want to see them.
Let's go look.
Dave at Forgeline, I kept asking for a picture of these, and he said they're so bright they won't take a picture. I'm like, what do you mean they're so bright they won't take a picture? He's like, you'll see. So.
All right, so stealth gray, PPG stealth gray, and?
Well, we're about to find out. Making sure my mic's still working.
Yep.
So I told Dave, I said, I want something loud and I like orange. So we went with the graphite center and the orange outers.
Yeah, that's loud. That is the brightest thing I've ever seen.
Luckily, I've got an impact.
Can we put one on a car now?
I am. If you're watching, Dave, I love them.
Yeah, they look great.
You won't miss me.
Why is the tire profile look different? Just because that orange, I guess.
It's the orange, yeah. It's the orange.
It makes it look like it has more tire profile, which I kind of like.
Yep. Let's see.
Grab that one.
Mike, what's happening? Good, you? Wow. That is subtle. I'll tell you what, I really like the gray centers as well. Yeah, that's a good match.
It'll blend in with the cone marks.
I don't know about that.
That's true. The cones will see those wheels coming, and they'll come in for a hug.
They don't leave orange strips. They leave flat lines.
Thanks, Dave. They look awesome.
How does that work?
So, folks, if you're watching, go ahead and hit that share button. Get your friends alerted so that they can watch the fun as well, so they can see a crazy orange wheel. Tony had the forethought to wear a long hoodie so that we're not looking at his plumber's crack, unlike some of the people working here today. Well, thank you for keeping it to yourself today. We usually end up showing more than we want at these events, at these thrashes.
I'm pretty much convinced my legs just go straight to my neck. San Andreas Fault just never stops.
When we did the bigger fuel pump in Rick's tank, what did we do to adapt it?
So Mike from Willwood's going to put these pedals in place,
One is one.
which is cool. You'll get to see how they land and how the pedal pads themselves are in relation to the floor.
Yeah, this is
All of
bigger.
this has been planned out carefully for Smitty's huge feet.
You can get those ends.
So they might land a little higher than on your
Did
car.
we just go off of there and do this and put a push lock on it?
I don't remember having this problem.
Alex's car was the car we did it in because the LT4.
I think we got me one of these ends. You can get them right from the dealership. They sell kits with this shit too.
Yeah.
I might have just put a fucking rubber too.
Oh,
The
we've done this before.
I don't remember ordering a line.
That shit's made on there. Maybe
Got it.
Rick's. You need that much fuel pump?
So yeah, there's a fair amount of distance from the pedal pads to the floor, but that's how Smitty likes his pedals. I'm sure Brett will be driving his car some also. They work pretty hard at getting the relationship between the seat, the steering wheel, the pedals, and the shifter just right. And really what we're doing is removing variables. If you get the ergonomics right, that's one way to go faster, by removing variables. Look at this big overhead hoist coming into use here. That's how you do it, right there. I'll tell you what, Smitty, the way things are going, you'll probably have this car done by tomorrow morning.
You got a lot of paint to do, I doubt it.
One of the things we've been talking about around here is we're not going to show you the finished car. We're gonna show you as much as we can show you between now and Friday, and then we're going to go dark, and you'll be able to see the finished car at the Good Guys Rod and Custom Nationals in Fort Worth, Texas. What are those dates? March 9th? March 9th through the 11th, I believe. If you want to see the done deal, come hang with us there.
I'm going to say if you make a change on one, you're probably going to change both.
They want to see the orange wheel again. Go show them the orange wheel again.
Well, I just asked Dave what the exact colors and name of the wheel was. So they are GF3 open lugs, and it's pearl gray and pylon orange.
Pylon orange, I love it.
I think pylon orange is fitting.
There you go.
What's that?
Saying that's easy. This one don't feel the best. That's what I'm asking.
You need to finish tapping this back all the way.
This back.
That one's back. There we go. Now pull that one out if it doesn't feel. You might need to. I haven't. I was going to ask you that earlier. There should be more bolts laying up there.
More than that, no? You believe that? They make you sit on a forge line wheel in a rival S tire?
I moved all the wiring stuff over there. I got the computers mounted. Hey Justin, stack these other 3 wheels over there, kind of where we keep the wheels at.
Very cool SPDC Race Shop logo engraved in the back of those cylinder heads.
As always, we got our max pivot plate.
Yep. Yeah, Max Custom Tie Downs makes a lot more than just custom tie downs. These mats make it a whole lot easier to work on your back underneath a car. That are that we also used at the Barrett Jackson build, which out there working on a parking lot. Those mats were just an absolute lifesaver. Super comfy. They help insulate you from the cold concrete floor, and somehow they're just easier to use than a creeper with wheels that somehow just seems to always end up in the wrong spot, or you wish you had an extra half-inch clearance between your face and the underside or whatever you're working on. Measure once, cut twice. Is that right? You can see Mike has all the master cylinders and pedals installed. That's good to go. All those parts have been dry fitted during the fabrication stage. That piece of sheet metal on the firewall that's holding the plate on was custom made just for that mounting surface. Don't have to do things that way, but it makes things really clean. Tony is hoisting up the Bowler 6-speed manual transmission. I still can't get over this hoist. It's just incredible. The shifter has an offset mount. Mark Bowler is the man when it comes to hot rod transmissions. Doesn't matter if it's a 2-pedal transmission or a 3-pedal transmission like this. We have 2 cars competing this year, 2 hot rods. One is the 48-hour Camaro, 1970, and this car also a 1970 Camaro. And one of the things we've done, as for fun as much as anything else, the 48-hour Camaro will be running a Bowler 4L75E automatic transmission with a Pro Torque billet lock-up torque converter and Holley electronics. And this car, as you can see, is running 3 pedals. Which do you guys like better out there in Facebook land? Like 2 pedals or 3 pedals? Automatics or manuals? Always a hot debate. I don't get it. I don't know. I can't understand why anybody would want to interrupt the power delivery in between gear changes. So the motor's wiggling around pretty good, so it makes it just a little harder. If you just tuned in, be sure to hit the share button. Let your friends know that we are here putting a car together. And it's a great opportunity for us just to say thank you for watching. And we'll keep doing this. Obviously, we're going to run out of batteries soon. All the electrons have escaped out of my phone, but we'll recharge and come back in a little while. But we're just going to keep going. It's
about lunchtime, so shortly after lunch, we'll go ahead and get the motor dropped in the car. Let's shoot for 2 o'clock.
So we're getting there. Over here we have the Rick's custom tanks, aluminum fuel tank coming together with this in-tank fuel pump that picks up fuel from the bottom of the tank. So it'll grab absolutely the very last drop of fuel in this tank. Something that you can see installed on all new cars, and it's just a great idea. It's something that makes it to where you you never run out of fuel till you run out of fuel. I see we have 2 pumps.
We're changing to a Corvette dual pump.
Is your mic still turned on?
No.
So we're changing to a Corvette dual pump. And we also have Mike getting ready to do the full brake installation. So we should have a lot to show you the next time we come back. There should be a lot of work done on the brakes, and there'll also be an engine and transmission in the car. They're wrestling with it right now. That's normal thing, normal part of the process. And then obviously we're doing the fuel tank at the side. So there's 3 major projects going on simultaneously: the fuel tank, the brakes, and the engine trans installation. Really coming along nicely. What do you think? Looking good?
Yeah, it's coming along good. Got to turn my mic on and off because beating stuff with a hammer is probably pretty loud across it. So,
he was cursing too.
you know, today's gonna be a good day. We're gonna get a lot of the parts in the car, and then we'll get into the tedious stuff with brake lines and fittings and running lines and all that kind of stuff. You know, one thing we talk about a lot is driver ergonomics. Mike touched on a little bit. You know, we went a little further with this car than you would a street car for the most part, because we went to the firewall mount pedal assemblies. Is it a big undertaking? If you know how to use a welder and do some fab work, it's not a bad install at all. If you really want to go autocross or road race, it's the way to go. It separates your master cylinders, and if you do have a master cylinder failure, you still have the second one. With a balance bar setup, we can simply change and turn a knob. So I'll be able to sit inside the car and turn the knob and change the balance between the front and rear reservoir. So we're out making a lap, and man, I don't have enough rear brake. I can give it a round of rear brake, and then when I got the car, that change is already done. Or if I'm on the road course, I can dial brake in and out of it. You know, you'll see that on TV. The NASCAR guys do it. They dial brake in and out. The road race guys do it. You don't see a lot of in-car video on them guys because it's not as popular, but that's a good feature. Having all 3 masters right tight together just makes for ease of use.
And we race on some fairly variable surfaces, you know, where there's a lot of gravel on the tracks, a lot of dirt.
Sure.
We do our best to blow the tracks off when we get there first thing in the morning, but somehow stuff always manages to find its way back, and you got to be able to tune your brakes.
Well, and you got the difference. You got East Coast asphalt, West Coast asphalt, and there's a big difference between the 2 sides of the country. You know, you go out and you race at Del Mar, you can either have a slick surface or you can have a super slick surface covered in sand. Mm-hmm. Well, a whole bunch of rear brake on that situation is not real good, because the back end of the car is going to pass you, you're going to wave at each other, then you're going to hit a whole bunch of cones.
Yep. And possibly a humongous electrical transformer.
Yeah, no, we're trying to avoid all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know,
this past weekend, even racing at California Speedway from one parking lot to another is completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to set the car up.
Oh, yeah, because you were
still,
on asphalt. It's about 3 years difference in age there.
It's just a complete different animal. So
yeah.
Being able to adjust all that stuff is really important.
So, you know, after lunch here, we'll get the motor in it. We'll have the front down bars in it, start plumbing some of the stuff up. Get the wiring, main sections of wiring in. We'll get to the vintage air hopefully tomorrow. I'll start assembling the dash. We'll get the Rick's tank assembled and get it in the car.
Cool. I can't wait to see those down bars in place.
Yeah, we took them one step further, and we've got the, you know, both legs in it to really try to brace everything up.
Yep, but still make it all removable and serviceable.
Sure, yep, the whole cage bolts in.
Yep.
So that's a really interesting feature to it. But
awesome.
I'm going to turn my mic off and get back to work.
Yeah, we're going to sign off.
We're going to go lunch.
That phone's pretty much out of electricity. We're going to go to go get some lunch and look for us to do another live stream. Hopefully later on today. I don't want to make any promises, but I think I think we all want to do it. We're gonna wait till we have some progress done, and then we're gonna come back and do another live stream. Thank you all for watching, and see you later.
The screen on the laptop's locked up.
We stopped at 150 people.